the opening roll call. I can go ahead and handle that now if you'd like.
That sounds good.
Okay, this is Brian Yates with Schwartz Page and Harding. Welcome to the Montgomery County MUD number 39 Board of Directors meeting for Wednesday, May the 19th, 2021. As in prior meetings, I'll briefly go through the remote meeting procedures and then perform a roll call. So to begin with, need to remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded as required by the Texas Open Meetings Act. Second, please remember to state your name before you speak, including the making of any motions. When you're not speaking, please be sure to mute your line. Third, we'll continue the practice of having a roll call to vote on each motion. After a motion has been made and seconded, please wait until you hear your name called and then respond with a verbal aye, a nay, or an abstention. Finally, we need to identify each person who's joining the meeting remotely today so that we can accurately reflect the attendance in the minutes of the meeting. I'll perform a roll call for the board members, followed by staff and consultants. When you hear your name or your company called, please respond by indicating that you're present in the meeting. Likewise, if you need to leave the meeting before it adjourns, please announce that you're doing so before you disconnect. Once I've completed the roll call for directors, staff, and consultants, I'll ask for any members of the public to identify themselves for the record. So starting with our board of directors, Eric Berglund.
Present.
Barney Rogers.
Present.
Jim Matthews.
Present.
Eric Hurd. Eric, I think you might be on mute.
Eric's on mute.
He's on the phone.
Okay, Ted Stanley.
Present.
Okay, we do have a quorum of our board present, so we will move on to Woodlands Water staff. Jim Stinson.
Present.
Mike Mooney.
Present.
Maureen Bourgeois.
I'm here.
Jenny Scott.
Present.
Shelley Lawson Kennedy.
Present.
Anyone else from Woodlands Water in the meeting? If
Council.
not, we'll move on to, sorry, go ahead.
I'm present.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Moving on to San Jacinto River Authority staff. Ron Kelly.
Present.
Ed Shackelford.
Present.
Chris Meeks.
Present.
Matt Corley.
Present.
Anyone else from the River Authority in the meeting?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll move on to consultants for MUD 39. Do we have any MUD 39 consultants in the meeting? I do not hear any, so we will move on to members of the public. Do we have any members of the public present in the meeting? We need to identify you for the record as well. I think I did hear Dan Colkhurst with Howard Hughes on the line.
Yes, my name is Dan Colkhurst. I'm with the Howard Hughes Corporation. I'm your developer. Haven't seen you guys in a while, but thought I'd stop in just to say hello. If you've got any questions about the development activities in the Woodlands, I'll be happy to answer any of those questions. And just want to come in and listen to one of your meetings. I hadn't been here in a while. So good to see you all.
Glad to have you.
Okay, this is Brian. Maureen, does that cover everyone who is logged into the meeting?
That's everybody.
All right, that'll complete our roll call. I'll hand it over to Jim Stinson to begin the agenda. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Brian Yates. We'll move on to item number 2, receive comments from the public. I don't think we have any today. Item number 3, consider and act on request for adjustments. Mike or Jeannie, do y'all have any adjustments today?
This is Jeannie and I don't have any.
And this is Mike. I have nothing this month either.
Very good. The next item is the consent agenda, which is items number 4 through 7. Would any of our board members like to remove any of the consent agenda items to be discussed separately? If not, do we have a motion to approve consent agenda items 4 through 7?
Mr. Director Matthews, I make a motion, we approve items 4 through 7.
Director Berglund, I'll second that motion.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Eric Berglund, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ronnie Rogers,
Aye.
Jim Matthews,
Aye.
Eric Hurd,
Aye.
and Ted Stanley.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to our regular agenda. Item number 8 is receive the San Jacinto River Authority Woodlands Division report.
Good afternoon, directors. This is Matt Corley with the San Jacinto River Authority. You all should have a Woodlands monthly operations report within your packet. I'd like to highlight the blend ratio fiscal year to date, which is September 2020 to April 2021. We're at a blend ratio of 48% groundwater to 52% surface water. Again, that's fiscal year to date. I'd be happy to answer any questions related to the report. If there aren't any questions, I believe Ron Kelling has an update regarding GMA 14.
Thank you, directors. I know that you have an item on your agenda regarding the DFCs. Just wanted to remind you that the proposed DFCs have been issued. There's a 90-day comment period that ends in middle of July. Lone Star will be conducting a public hearing on those, either the 7th, 8th, or 9th. They haven't set the date, but as soon as we find out what that date is, we'll give it to Jim for distribution. It's great to have written comments, letters, comments, resolutions like the ones you're considering. It's also important to have folks actually show up at Lone Star's public hearing and make comments over those 3 minutes, because sometimes that has more of an impact than a stack of papers. So anyway, just wanted to remind you of that, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Directors, this is Ed Shackelford with San Jacinto River Authority. In, excuse me, under the GM report, there is a summary of the Trinity River water supply option. And I'd like to just mention or call your attention to that the SJRA board is seeking input on whether to continue this raw water option for the future. And I'd be happy to go over specifics of our PowerPoint presentation either today or at a future meeting. But we are seeking input no later than the August SJRA board meeting, the fourth Thursday of August, either written comments or comments offered in person. Any questions, please?
The detailed explanation of that topic is in your Woodlands Water Board of Trustees summary under the SJRA. It's a lengthy paragraph, so if you haven't had a chance to read that, please do so. And if you're interested in more detailed information today, I think Ed has access to a PowerPoint that he could go through depending on what your desire is. So let's just, since we don't need to act on it this month, let me just encourage you to look at the information in the packet, and then we'll be talking about it more at the June and July meetings as well.
Thank you.
Item number 9 is receive and discuss the San Jacinto River Authority Woodlands Division budget. Again, no action is taken or needed on this item today. It's our introductory review of the Woodlands Division budget. We'll be looking at this over the next couple of months and requesting your feedback. So thank you.
Thank you, Jim. So I do have just a few slides to run through, similar to Ed's conversation earlier. All this information is in your packet. The detailed budget, the detailed presentation, the executive summary, all is in there. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through this unless you'd like me to. But one thing to note as we're going through the budget is this budget that I'm going to show you will change slightly based off of what the GRP review committee votes on Monday in regards to their rate. The review committee is discussing a 4-cent reduction based off of what we had proposed before. If that does occur, then we will issue a revised Woodlands Division budget. We do not expect the rate to change from that modification, but the numbers inside of it will, since that number is a pass-through. So one thing about this budget as well is to make it go quicker. A lot of the stuff that we would usually go through to show how we kind of develop the budget, we've put that at the end of the budget, and we've brought basically the punchline forward. So what you're looking at here is the Woodlands Division FY22 budget takeaways. High level things, we're not really growing too much in the Woodlands. There's not a lot of new demands. So water and sewer sales are staying consistent with the previous years. We are proposing a 65% groundwater to 35% surface water blend. We are proposing a 5% water and wastewater rate increase, which is due to, in part, the ongoing renewal of the infrastructure and an increase of $500,000 to the R&R fund. Then, of course, the O&M and emergency reserves are fully funded. Kind of talk about the rate just here a little bit. What we wanted to do is show the last 5 years of water rates in this case, and then what we are proposing. So what you'll see on the far right is the proposed FY 2022 rate increase of 5% on the water side, which is 11 cents per 1,000 gallons. And then you'll see the 5 previous years of rate increases. The next slide shows the same information as before, just this is regarding the wastewater rates. It also shows the proposed 5% wastewater rate increase, or 23 cents per 1,000 gallons. All the information that relates to why is there an increase, which accounts, which line items are higher, which are lower. All that information is contained in the executive summary, as well as the detailed budget that's in your packet. And as Jim stated, no action today. This is just presenting. The final approval by the trustees is in August. Last item just to talk about briefly is what you see on the screen is a GRP budget item. So this is a GRP rates. So if you look at the very bottom of the screen, in the blue highlighted area on the bottom right, you'll see the dollar amount of $3.07. That dollar amount is what was previously proposed to the review committee. Since it has been proposed, the review committee has recommended some or requested some changes to the budget that they'll vote on Monday. If they do vote on that, it will be a 4-cent reduction. So that dollar amount will be $3.03 per 1,000 gallons. Now, just keep in mind that is the blended fee. So what we do is the two numbers above that, we take the blend ratio of 65-35 in this case and multiply those numbers accordingly to come up with that dollar amount. All the information past this slide is in your budget package, and just kind of recap some of the higher level stuff of how we get to the budget, how we kind of prepare the budget summary data and everything else. So at this point, I was going to stop and see if you had any questions. Okay, we're not hearing any. If you do have any questions, we're asking that all questions go through Jim so he can be the clearinghouse, if you will, of all the questions, and then we'll get them answered.
Thank you very much, Chris. Moving on to item number 10, receive the attorney's report.
This is Brian. Thank you, Jim. Under the attorney's report, just been updating boards on legislative session. We've got about 2 weeks to go, so it's pretty much 24/7 at the Capitol right now as they make the last big push toward the end of the session. For those of you who are interested in particular bills, want to remind you to take a look at that bill tracker, and there are hyperlinks on there that will take you to the Texas Legislature Online. And the Texas Legislature Online website has real-time updates on the status of bills, you know, whether they are in committee, whether they've been voted out of committee, whether they're up for a floor vote, et cetera. So that's a great resource to keep track of bills of particular interest to board members. One piece of legislation that has already passed, we've been bringing to board's attention this week, is House Bill 1118. That bill modified the cybersecurity statute that was passed by the legislature in 2019. You'll recall there was a lot of discussion after the original legislation was passed as to whether or not MUD directors were really subject to the training requirements, because in most cases, MUD directors don't have access to district computer systems that would be susceptible to cybersecurity hacking. And employees of the Woodlands, obviously they have access to the district's computer systems in Woodlands Water. So they're required to complete training without question, but whether directors were, the language itself in the statute did not appear to require for directors to complete the training. However, we had the entity that was tasked with implementing the legislation, the Texas Department of Information Resources, that came out with an incredibly broad interpretation of that statute that basically required everyone to complete the training, regardless of whether you had no access to any potential system that would be subject to a cybersecurity threat. Made no sense, but that was the guidance that they provided. So that's why all directors, including y'all, completed the training last year. Legislature has now gone back and essentially overrode that interpretation by the Texas Department of Information Resources with House Bill 1118. The change that was approved as part of that legislation was to now make it clear that a local government official, such as a MUD director or other folks that are subject to the training requirements, they have to have access to a local government computer system or database and use that computer system to perform at least 25% of their duties in order to be required to complete the training. So for the lion's share of MUD directors, they're not going to be required to complete training going forward, starting this year. The Woodlands is a little bit unique because the directors, such as y'all, do get a number of your documents electronically through a Google Drive that's maintained by Woodlands Water. There's also supplemental materials that are provided, and y'all do go through the Zoom platform as well to conduct your meetings. So, it's somewhat unclear whether each particular director hits that 25% threshold or not. So the direction I've been given to boards in the Woodlands is the default would be to go ahead and continue to complete your training. Staff's going to be completing training as well. Go ahead, continue to complete your training going forward. However, if a particular director is certain that they are not using a district computer system or database for at least 25% of their working time as a director performing their duties, then they would not need to complete the training. And keep in mind, the training requirement is a director-based compliance requirement. It is not a district compliance requirement. And also, as we talked about when the original legislation was passed, there at this time is no penalty, fine or otherwise, for non-compliance. So doesn't mean to go and flaunt the restriction, the requirement, but it's something to keep in mind as well. But I think in the Woodlands, it's going to be more on a case-by-case basis for directors to make the determination as to whether or not they actually spend 25% of their time and duties working with a district computer system or database. If you do complete the training, I believe AWBD is going to continue to have their webinars and on-demand services. So if you do complete the training, continue to provide your evidence of completion to Shelley, and she'll put it in your files with your other director forms. So that's House Bill 1118 in a nutshell. Happy to answer any questions y'all may have for me. Otherwise, that concludes my attorney's report for today.
Any questions for Mr. Yates? If not, we'll go on to item number 11, which is consider and act on a resolution regarding the desired future conditions for aquifer management in Montgomery County. This topic was discussed in several MUDs last month. It was put on pause until we could kind of get a group together to work on a resolution that might be presented to our trustees and each of the MUDs this month, and something that would provide a consistent, unified message regarding groundwater management in Montgomery County and aquifer or desired future conditions. So in your packet is a resolution that was approved by the trustees last week and has been on each MUD agenda so far this week. And we are recommending that you approve that resolution.
I'll make a motion, we approve the resolution.
I second the motion. Jim Matthews, Director.
Very good.
Eric-
We have a motion. and
Eric
a
Hurd made the
second.
motion.
Call the vote. Eric Berglund, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ron Rogers, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jim Matthews, how do you vote?
Aye.
Eric Hurd, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Ted Stanley?
Aye.
Very good. Motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is consider an act on providing storm drain markers to reduce waterway pollutants for community volunteer projects. Historically, we've had volunteers come to our office and request that the MUDs provide the markers or purchase the markers and the adhesive for placing on storm drains throughout the woodlands. We're seeing an increase in volunteer activity and requests for this service. So we're just requesting today that your MUD authorize up to $1,000 be allocated for purchasing storm drain markers and adhesives should a volunteer group come to your MUD and want to put those out. So we're recommending that you approve this expenditure of up to $1,000 a year.
I move that we approve that expenditure. Eric Berglund.
Director Matthews, I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Very good. Eric Berglund, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ron Rogers,
Aye.
Jim Matthews,
Aye.
Eric Hurd,
Aye.
and Ted Stanley.
Aye.
Very good. The motion carries. Item number 13 is receive the general manager's report. I'm going to highlight a few items from our trustee meeting. There was a discussion regarding the proposed American Jobs Plan that's being looked at with the Biden administration, and the message is we don't want to miss an opportunity to try to get some funding, federal funding for any of our water, wastewater, or drainage projects. So it's been recommended that we look into maybe hiring a consultant or somebody that specializes in obtaining these sorts of funds. So we will be looking at that. The San Jacinto River Authority has some interest in this as well. So they're going to be working with us on that topic. We also talked about the San Jacinto River Regional Flood Planning Group. There's been an effort over the last few months to get an upper watershed voting member created for that planning group. Your MUD and others supported Dr. Neil Gaynor, Director and President of MUD 6 for that position. We did submit a letter of support for all of our MUDs. I hear there are now 4 or 5 additional candidates. They have not made a selection. Their last meeting, they reported they were going to interview the candidates. So disappointing that process is taking a little longer than anticipated, but still rooting for Neil to get on that board. The HARC monthly report is in your packet if you've got questions regarding that, the consortium agreement we have with them. I'm still in discussions with the residents and others regarding the potential to move 2 poles that were installed for our AMI metering system. One at the area of Lake Woodlands Drive and Woodlands Parkway, and another over near Slash Pine. 2 alternate locations have been identified, potential locations, and they're both on Woodlands Township Park property. One is Sawmill Park and the other is Forest Gate Park. So that potential is being vetted and more to come on that. In your packet is kind of an order of magnitude at what we're looking at if we are going to relocate poles. It's not, it's an expensive process, well over $200,000. So take a look at that and let me know if you've got questions on that information. I did report our interlocal agreement regarding the Spring Creek Detention Engineering Study has been executed. We also got approval that or got notice that our Bear application to the Water Development Board for Bear Branch improvements was approved. At the trustee meeting, Chris Meeks and his staff reported that the preliminary engineering report on the Tin Man upgrade or modification has been completed. The trustees requested that preliminary engineering report continue to be refined. I think there were 5 different manufacturers or vendor options that were presented. And the goal is to narrow that down to no more than 3 and present that to the Saint-Jacinto River Authority for looking at moving forward with that study. And then also Chris Meeks introduced the topic of an additive that has been used with some success reducing odor. So our trustees recommended that the River Authority move forward with that trial on an additive to improve odor as well. In your packet is a Woodlands Water Agency document prepared primarily by Marine regarding operational efficiency. So please take a look at those items that Marine has helped spearhead over the last few months regarding our operational efficiency. And that concludes my reports and I'm available for questions. If there are none, we will go on to item number 14, receive the trustees report.
Hello, everybody. So I was not at the meeting. So Jim, would you mind if there's any other highlights of the in that report, going over those with everybody?
You know, I think I tried to cover just about everything except the public comments. Those are in your report. We had comments from a number of folks that nothing comes to mind right now, but I know those documents are in your report if you've got questions.
And how long was the meeting, Jim?
I'm guessing an hour and a half, as I remember.
That's not too bad.
So, and I think we're on a path for meeting back in person. If I'm sure it's imminent. If it doesn't happen next month, I can't see how it could go on any longer than that, or go on longer than 2 months. But things are, I think, getting back to normal or headed in that direction. So look forward to seeing y'all in person soon. Yes.
I was just agreeing, it'd be nice to meet in person as well. This is Director Berglund.
Very good. Okay, item number 15 is discuss any matters for placement on a future agenda. If not, we will stand adjourned at about 12:32. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Y'all next time.